Okay, great. We're recording. Everyone knows me in the end. I'm Sam McAdam, and I'm interviewing today Yolo County Public Defender Tracie Olson. And we talked briefly, and I just wanted to thank her for appearing in the Schwartz-Levy-Enza court. Thank you, Tracie.
Of course.
So we're taking the perspective of a criminal defense attorney, and you've got a slew of 15, 20 attorneys or more, and hundreds of clients in the system, if not thousands. And so what a great person to interview. So let's just get going because everyone wants to hear what you have to say. But let me start with a focus question. What is it like to have a client in the jail or even in state prison that has COVID? What's that like being an attorney facing that challenge?
Well, early on in the pandemic, when we did not know what this was going to mean for our clients, we were really, really concerned just for their health and safety. So we were pretty active in trying to identify clients that had health issues, identify clients that looked like they were almost time served on their sentences or wouldn't be a public safety risk, and trying to bring those back to the court's attention. And then, of course, when San Quentin had that huge outbreak and people were dying, and it wasn't just clients, it was staff that worked there as well. People were dying. So I participated in some of the rallies, I guess you'd call it, that occurred in front of San Quentin, trying to bring attention to that situation as well. It was very, very scary. It still is scary, but now with vaccines and we've got 2 years under our belt, we're a little bit more knowledgeable about what to expect. But at the beginning, it was a scary situation.
Are we vaccinating at the jails?
They are. We have my office has sent flyers to every person in the jail, whether they were our client or not, encouraging them to do that and giving them information so that they could have their questions answered. We're hoping that they vaccinate, and the jail is offering that. And then,
Wonderful.
Of course, county employees are all mandatory vaccinated unless there's an exemption that's been granted by county counsel's office.
Thank you. Yeah. So what's it like for your lawyers? Let me phrase the question at the front end. Are they getting adequate access to in-custody defendants in your view? And what's it like as a lawyer going into the jail and being concerned about COVID?
We are not getting access that's adequate to our clients at all. In fact, today I just had to send, probably about 10 minutes ago, an email to the presiding judge, McGuire, indicating that we're no longer going to be able to waive our clients' appearances for court. We had agreed to do that as a default. Clients could opt out and ask to come to court, but we had agreed to do that in an effort to keep our footprint in the jail small and to make sure that people weren't getting exposed. But they set up Zoom court. The jail set up Zoom court in the same areas that we visit with our clients. And so anytime there's court, we don't have access to our clients. And when there's court every morning, there's court every afternoon, arraignments and hearings. Even with jury trial suspended right now, it was making it prohibitively, we just couldn't see our clients. For instance, for one of my clients sent over a request for a Zoom appointment, and I made it for Saturday morning at 10, which it's fine with me, but I can't ask every employee here that they have to they have to use their weekends to see their clients. It's just not fair.
Yeah, thank you. And I know we only had so much time because we could talk for a long time on that subject. But let me just jump ahead then. What would you propose in a perfect world, a technological solution? So what you're saying is right now they have one Zoom room set up, and if that's occupied for court proceedings, then you don't have access as a lawyer to a Zoom meeting with a client, right?
Right. So every pod has the family visiting area, because there's no family visits at all, haven't been for almost 2 years.
Right.
That became where the attorneys saw our clients, and it's through the glass over telephones. And it's telephones that don't work properly. It's telephones that cross wires, and sometimes you overhear other people's conversations. It's not confidential, even though there's attempts to make it confidential. It's not. If I have to show audio video, which every case has audio video discovery now because of body cameras and car cameras, I can't, because I can't lift up my computer and hold the phone to it so that they can hear. It's very, very difficult. So Zoom has actually been very nice. We can see our clients face to face digitally, but at least it's almost a more intimate situation than seeing them through glass. We can share screen with them, we can talk with them. It's been very good, but the problem is the jail has not set up Zoom in any area other than the same locations that they're holding court.
Okay. Wow. So you've outlined the solution, right? I mean, you just need more Zoom access, and think about it. I mean, it's safe. Your attorneys don't have to go into the jail. You don't have to spend the time driving to the jail. I know it's not a long drive, but still it does take time to leave the office, get ready, go through security at the jail, and then wait for the client to be positioned and so forth. So it's a huge cost savings to the lawyer to be able to do it by Zoom. And then you had this added plus of being able to show the car cameras and the other digital discovery better on a Zoom platform than you would even in person.
Right. And
Yeah.
they've now instituted where we can't go into the jail to even have a non-contact visit with our clients unless we
Right.
test negative every 4 days. So
Yeah.
that's another layer of, and it's fine, we don't mind testing, but it's not an efficient protocol. And actually, because we're seeing our clients through glass anyway, we have more contact with jail staff through the testing process than we ever did in the visitation process.
Right.
So, and as far as setting up Zoom, I brought laptops over, I brought tablets over, I brought equipment. I've offered to buy more equipment. I've offered to take cell phones over there so that we can do it by, FaceTime, whatever they want, I offered to do it. It's just been difficult. And anybody that's tested positive, that's in what they call the infirmary, there's no Zoom access, no Zoom port, nothing. So those folks are there for the entirety of their isolation period without contact, whether they have symptoms or not, just if they test positive.
So one solution there might be the ability to have a iPad delivered inside the cell that was free of other, internet activity and so forth, that would just be used for attorney-client communication for a short meeting, a half hour, an hour meeting, whenever you needed.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Wow, that's really interesting information, but I got a lot more I got to cover. So let me ask you about, let me just jump around. Let me ask you about speedy trials. How's that going, with the pandemic and the problems with transporting inmates with COVID and limitations in the courts? What's the speedy trial issue like now?
Well, as of January 10th through February 7th, we're not even having jury trials. And we had experienced that briefly early in the pandemic as well. And then there had been periods of time where preliminary hearings were extended beyond statutory timelines, either because people were in isolation or quarantine, or just because it was the middle of pandemic and Zoom was being encouraged versus people coming in person. I have to say, because I'm very in tune with other counties that have public defender offices up and down the state, we, for some reason, we're really able to avoid the bottlenecks that some jurisdictions are seeing. And I think that's a credit to, I mean, you were the PJ at the time. I know that your decisions were very, very helpful in that, but it doesn't mean it was without problems. We've had clients whose jury trials were continued and thought about taking offers that they didn't want to take before, simply because the offer was that you could get out of jail. We've had, oh, that's your timer. We've had clients that are waiting at transport to Department of State hospitals that are decompensating so severely that they're becoming risks to themselves and to the staff over at the jail. We've had problems just with attorney-client relationships because we haven't been able to see them as much as they're used to or they deserve or they're entitled to. It's been a lot of problems in that regard, but we'll see. I think that we're going to see a bottleneck in February of cases, and then we'll just have to.
Yeah, we'll work through it. Right. All right. Thank you for sharing that. Let me ask you a few more questions. Confrontation clause, right? So the criminal defendant's right to cross-examine and confront witnesses who've been subpoenaed against them. So how has that gone with remote hearings and all the challenges during the pandemic?
Sometimes it's actually been helpful to have people Zoom into court. I mean, before the pandemic, I don't know about anybody else, but I never heard of Zoom. I didn't know what that even was. So you have out-of-state witnesses, you have witnesses, or we have clients that have a court date, and I'm not talking about trials, but just have a court date and they don't have transportation. So in some ways, the pandemic has introduced us to technology that's been helpful. But as far as confrontation, kind of, in my opinion, depends on the type of witness it is. If it's a witness whose credibility is really at stake or at issue, they need to be present. And I have found that clients, when they're not in court, they kind of lose their humanity to other people. I need the district attorney's office to see my clients in person and see that they're human beings rather than just a face on a screen. I need the judges to do the same thing. I need them to feel that they're making decisions about actual people. Plus, when you show up in person, it's more than just the court process. It's sometimes there's chatter, sometimes there's conversations. Judges will ask people about their day or their employment, etc. And when you have that personal connection, I think that that's lost through Zoom. Confrontation, we're the only ones that have the right to confront witnesses, but people don't. And I think it's interesting sometimes when we ask for that right to be enforced, and the district attorneys don't seem to understand it. But again, we're working that out case by case, and overall, it hasn't been too detrimental, I don't think, to the outcome of the case yet.
Yeah, that's good to hear, and it is a real challenge. But very interesting to hear that. I can imagine one of the things that defense faces is the cost of experts. And so what I thought I heard you say is that you do have access to more witnesses, and maybe even witnesses on mitigation and things like that that don't live in the area, that there's a better chance to get them to testify in a proceeding. Is that fair to say?
It's fair to say, but I would rather pay the money and have them come in person if it's a critical witness. But for those witnesses that aren't, it's going to be a 10-minute set of questions and cross-examination combined. Like, for instance, I have an out-of-state witness. It's 10-minute witness. It's perfect to have her Zoom in. So that ability to do that is good. But overall, I don't want to rely on that. And I certainly don't want to make jury trials into a Zoom experience.
Yeah, and I know here in YOLO, we don't want to do jury trials that way either. Other hearings, yes, but when you get to the jury trial at the end of the day, no. Okay, well, we covered a lot in about 10 minutes, but let me just leave you with an open-ended question. I mean, two things. So what's the greatest challenge? Did we already cover the greatest challenge for you, or is there something on your mind you'd like to share with everybody about being a criminal defense attorney during the pandemic?
I think we're not considered first responders, but we sort of consider ourselves to be that. When it was amazing, February 2020, it was life as normal. March of 2020 was a ghost town, right? And we still showed up to work every day, and we still went to go to the jail to visit our clients every day, and we went to court, and we're trying to make decisions that aren't in a vacuum, because we do understand that we play a role in keeping everybody safe. So we're mindful of that. But our number one primary objective is always what's in the best interest of the clients. And sometimes that means they have to come to court. And sometimes that means that, we can't put the, how would I say this? We need to make sure that we're doing our jobs. And we have been very faithful in doing that. We're all vaccinated, we're all boosted, we're all trying to make sure our clients are the same, but we have to be able to do our jobs. And we've spent a lot of this last 2 years just trying to do our job in the face of, what was a deadly pandemic.
Right. Well, I can honestly say, because I observe your lawyers, that you're doing a great job. And secondly, the job's a lot harder than even the job of a judge. I mean, I have so much staff, tech staff and so forth, and we sit behind all the glass and we're protecting everything. And you're really out there in the front lines in the criminal justice, just like other participants. The police officers are too. They're right on the front lines. Defense attorneys are right on the front lines, and And one thing that you said that really struck me is because I'm just advocating virtual courthouse. Of course, I sit on the civil calendar right now, and you emphasize the humanity of being face to face with people. And I really appreciate you making that comment. I hope everyone takes that into account as we integrate the virtual courthouse into post-pandemic life, that humanity, particularly on important decisions that affect people's freedoms, that's really important. So anyway, I'm going to shut off the recording. I'm going to say thank you right now, and then I'll chit chat with you in a second on the other side. Yeah,
Okay.
let me turn it off. Thank you.
Okay.